So our next session, we have a partner from Microsoft, Mr. Simao Menezes. He'll be joining us online to speak on the frontier AI. Please give him a round of applause as they walk in.
My name is Simao Menezes. I'm a security specialist at Microsoft. I've been around for about 7-8 years, covered AI over the past few years, and then changed into security. And I want to thank Salt for having invited me here. I know there's a lot of energy going in the room, and now having somebody speak digitally is a bit different, so it's a changing place. I appreciate that. But I hope you get some nice information from me, and you learn a little bit from me and Microsoft on when it comes to AI and how we're seeing AI today. So I'll be bringing you, giving you some examples of what we've seen in the recent past at Microsoft around AI. Give you a framework that helps companies ensure that they do AI correctly in their organization, and go into security. That is quite a relevant topic here in the present. Right now it's different from what we've been doing traditionally. So I'll walk you through those things. I don't think we really have space for Q&A, but I'll be happy to connect with all of you after the event is up. But yeah, I'll kick things off by just giving you some stats. I think it's something Microsoft often does. But yeah, AI adoption is obviously accelerating rapidly. All of you have used, to some extent, the capacity AI in your organization, and you might have dabbled with building agents as well. And what we've been seeing is that as companies start utilizing agents in their organizations, complexity really increases. We often compare this to when Teams was just released, and we'd see people just creating Teams channels across organizations, and very quickly an organization would have 1,000 Teams channels. The same is happening with agents. Very quickly organizations go from 0 agents to thousands of agents as everybody starts creating them. Now, even though everybody is using AI and trying agents, Deloitte ran a study that shows 84% of companies have not redesigned jobs around AI capabilities. So we're trying to do the same work that we have now and just plug AI into it instead of thinking about how to redesign the work that we do so that we can do it more efficiently. So 42% of companies and leaders recognize that there's like that skill gap for adoption and to change the work that we do. So this transformation needs to be deliberate. It won't just happen in your organization. So you need to think about a plan. You need to think about how to go from start to finish. And you need to align that from the start. It won't just happen. And when companies do this, when they think end to end and start to finish with regards to AI, we see that they report stronger growth than those that do not. So the objective for today is twofold: giving you the framework that we see at Microsoft how it's successful. We are what we call Customer Zero. We've been utilizing AI for 3.5 years, I think, now. LLMs and the likes. I've been using them for a while, so we've gone through the steps. We've got a lot of pain at the beginning. Now AI is core to what we do. I have agents running every day for me, doing a lot of my work. But we think, and we define success and a framework, and we divide it into 4 different steps. The first one is enriching employee experience, so empowering your people to do their best work, automating routine tasks, unlocking creativity, and supporting continuous learning. So there's a bit there around defining what is automatable, what are the routine tasks that your employees do over and over again, to give them more time to do things instead of doing things that actually matter and that need a human being. Number 2 is retaining customer engagement. So if we use AI, we can deliver more personalized, responsive, and meaningful interactions at every touch point with your customer. Reshaping business processes, again, we go back to the first slide there. very important to move beyond just incremental improvement and actually reimagining your operations with AI at the core. And then the fourth one is setting the curve on innovation. If you're following Microsoft, or if you've heard this term quite a lot, but accelerating the pace of innovation by giving every team the tools and intelligence to experiment, iterate, and bring new ideas to the market faster. So it's not just only being top down into AI, but letting your users experiment as well. So there's 4 use cases or stories that I want to talk you through, and they're aligned with the different framework pillars that I just mentioned. So the first one is with regards to Children International, and it's a good example of enriching your employee experiences. So Children International existed to break the cycle of childhood poverty, but they were spending, and they realized that their staff was spending too much time on work that didn't require human empathy. So they let AI handle the routine tasks, try to automate most of what was not, or didn't need this human empathy, to free up time for their staff to do things that only people can, being empathetic, right? So they rolled out Copilot to most of their staff. They prioritized the field teams, so people that were actually on the ground, and used it to analyze information, streamline some of the tasks. And the outcome is actually quite interesting. So they're increasing direct child interventions by 25% in 4 years, but they didn't increase budget, they didn't increase headcount, they just freed staff's time by automating a lot of that work. And that means that the work that people are doing is more impactful, it's more relevant. So you're no longer doing admin tasks, you're just spending time on the field with the children that actually need you, being empathetic, and really delivering what humans can deliver and AI can. So that was the first one, enriching employee experiences. And then we have reinventing customer engagement. A good example of that is Alaska. They were growing quite fast over the past few years, but the teams were working across fragmented systems. The demand was increasing and scaling, and it was becoming harder for employees to show up to customers with speed and confidence when your information is segmented and it's a little bit all over the place. So they tried embedding AI directly to service workflows, so that intelligence would show up in the moment. That means automated triage, surfacing answers, supporting employees in real time with regards to support and customer service. And this obviously increased how quick employees could answer to their customers, but customer planning time dropped by 75%. There was a better engagement with the customers themselves because you have access to more up-to-date data, and the users using their guest experience and support services. 87% of them said they'd use it again, the tool, to get self-support. And guest satisfaction increased. So enriching employee experiences, letting your users be human and do what humans must do, and then you can reinvent customer engagement by giving customers that are not supported today support, increasing their experience and allowing them to have a line of support that they didn't before. That would be reinventing your customer engagement. For your top customers, you can still give them a human first. But for those that have no line of support today, you can now give them any line of support. That will increase that engagement with you, give them access to your information, and increase customer satisfaction. So those are the first two, enriching and reinventing. But we also should reshape business processes. And Levi's is a good use case for this. Over the past few years, they've been shifting to direct to consumer. So they started getting a lot of data on the users, but taking that data and turning it into information that could be used for decisions took months. So they had to think if there was anything we could do with AI to support this. So they redesigned some of these workflows and put AI directly into employee workflows, rather than just running separated pilots. So they work on their data layers to build AI on top of it so that the users at the store could have direct information with regards to the customers that were at the store in like at the time that they were there purchasing. And that meant that from a data side, workload was estimated to take up to a year, was completed in a couple of days or single days sometimes. And that the team moved from idea to exec ready demos in weeks. Financial teams also got access to the same data at the same time as the other parts of the organization. So here first, you guys had to work on their data, right? Create a baseline for everything that you wanted to build on top. And then they were able to push it to customer support, sales at stores, financial teams internally, and have this impact in what they said increased productivity by 97%. Because they reshaped business processes. It wasn't just running a few pilots. It was really going deep, getting that data structure in place, and then building the agents on top, aligned to the different business processes. And the last one, a good example of this is Accenture. So Accenture has one of the largest workforces in the world. And when we were trying to deploy Copilot at the time, they were a bit stuck in that proof of concept phase. Users of AI, use cases of AI were a bit disconnected. And it was hard at the beginning, right? They were one of our first customers. It was a challenge to get from this sort of proof of concept phase into something that's production grade. But Accenture redesigned their innovation model and they built a centralized enterprise AI platform. So first, they had to embed safety, security, compliance into it. And then performance metrics, performance evaluation of the AI was built as well. So there's this center of excellence around the AI that was created. And then they had the confidence to push it out for the user base. And build time dropped by 50%, efficiency increased by 30%, and costs fell by 20%. And one of their customers delivered 17 use cases in 4 months, which in their eyes is what generally used to be a 8-month plan. So the speed of delivery in consulting increased by 100%. And now today, this is as of a few months ago, Accenture has now 75 different generative AI use cases, and 16 of them are in full production. So it really, once the center of excellence was built, and they were able to capture use cases from the organization, the scale really accelerated. So these are the 4 pillars and the framework that we use to find use cases really and push it to the organizations and really drive impact and scale. And it's not only about having the right tool for the job, it's about redesigning your job, really understanding what humans do best and where humans should spend their time, and what are the processes that should be automated, and allowing your organization to learn from your users, because nobody knows their job and what they do as best as them, so nobody can really tell you how to improve their jobs better than what your employees can. But to do that, we need to think about 2 things first, right? Intelligence. So what is the data structure that you have today? What's the data that you can lean on to build your agents? Agents, AI, LLMs, they are at different levels of maturity depending on the companies that you go for or to, and what you pick. But your data is what you run the agent on. And the agent can only be as good as the data that you have. So first step, think about the intelligence that you have in your organization. What are the data sources that you have, and how can they improve the work that you do today? And second is trust. Okay, and we're going to these 2, but trust is about feeling comfortable that you have the right security, governance, and control in place for agents and AI in your organization. That you are operating in a lean, flexible way, but at the same time keeping your commitment to security, your commitment to compliance, and your commitment to your customers ultimately, even with the use of AI. Okay? So looking at intelligence is what powers agents. We see most organizations running a distributed ecosystem of agents. So dozens, maybe hundreds of agents running in your organization. And the differentiator really is the data that powers it. What employees generally see is the interface, but what creates value is the data that you put into that interface. So that intelligence is or should be a unified view of your business. How work gets done, what are your core processes, the data applications that you use, and institutional knowledge. Such. When you get your agent grounded with context, they become good and relevant to you as an organization. And then that's what really increases the value. Because they are aligned to how you actually operate. They're not just generic assistants. So thinking about turning that data into a unified operating layer that you can then fill agents on top is a critical part of the process. So obviously Microsoft has their own way of doing it, but the logic still applies. We generally use one lake whenever we want to bring data from Microsoft, also from your business and productivity, say SharePoint, OneDrive, and so on, and Teams, and so on. But increase it with Azure data, Fabric data platforms that you have, maybe business apps or different data providers that you have. Bring it all together into a single point that you can then build agents on. If you're not doing that, you will be operating in silos, and that is all good in the short term. But you think about the potential of AI, it really rests on you having this end-to-end data structure. So it's something to think about, something to work on as well. But I'll leave you with this for now when it comes to intelligence. How can you bring your data together and build it in a way that your AI can work on it in an efficient manner that is relevant to your business? Now, AI creates new attack surfaces, and if we have some security, cybersecurity people here on the meeting, this has probably been quite relevant for you over the past 2 years. So traditionally, we've been talking about applications, cloud protection, network identity data, endpoints, and so on. But over the past year, we've been talking about the AI models, plugins, generative AI, prompt injection, prompt engineering, agents, and so on. So the conversation really changed. AI intensified as traditional threats, right? So just being easier to run scripts and run malware does impact our traditional threat vectors here, down here. But AI is introducing new ones. So if AI is introducing new vectors, if there's new AI models and agents in the organization, how do we ensure confidence at scale? Step one is really observability. And I'll just go to this one. Do you know what agents are running in your organization? Be them software as a service or platform as a service or running directly on your endpoints. Do you have that visibility? Okay. Can you manage them and monitor them in real time? That should be step number one. If what you don't see, you cannot control, you cannot govern. So how do you increase your visibility over the agents that are in your organization, whether they're built within your organization, they're just a SaaS offer that you put into your organization, whether you're the one procuring it or whether your end users are just bringing their own agents and their own AI into the organization. You need to have a way to get that visibility and understand what's going on. Once you understand what's going on, you can start governing it. You can start putting guardrails for agents and users, ensuring that only certain types of data can go to specific agents. So maybe sales data can go into sales-specific agents, but sales data cannot go into different agents, right? You might want to keep that separation, and you might want to start a governance piece, which you can do once you have visibility. So governance is establishing those guardrails for your agents and users and creating IT-led processes that give you the right confidence and the right compliance, and also get you to a point where you audit ready. So audits are part of our world, right? And we need to have a way to respond to those. So step 2 is govern, and step 3 is secure. So you understand the agents that you have and that are running your organization. You govern them, so you select the ones that you can access and whatnot, the data can go into it and not, but they need to secure. The way we see it as Microsoft is agents are operate very similarly to users, right? So you want to control them as well as the identity and an access perspective, or from an identity and access perspective. Manage their risk levels just like you do your users. See their behavior and see if the behavior of the agents are changing over time. See their access levels and see if their access levels have been increasing over time. Maybe that's something that's controlled. And permissions as well. Is this agent getting more and more permissions over time? Should we control for that too? Data and identities in your organization. You should be able to understand the agents that are being used, the agents that are not being used, and apply sort of the joiners, movers, levers process to these agents as well. If an agent is not being used for 30 days, maybe you don't want it to be latent in your organization, just exists there, because it is an attack surface risk as well. So we can see the agents now, we can govern them, but we can also secure them and control them end-to-end in their lifecycle. Okay, and that is for agents, which exists in your organization, but you also have teams developing their own agents. So what we want to provide here as Microsoft in my case, right, is a unified control plane for agents that gives you a consistent way to manage, govern, and secure agents scale that we talked to, which is Agent 365, but also giving your developers the protection, the guardrails, and the visibility through foundry control, so that they can build and ship agents with confidence. So the foundry control plane allows your developers to build the agents with security in mind. And with this, right, your security teams can then get a complete picture across apps and the apps, data, identities, threats, but also models and agents, right? Through our stack and get everything woven into a security dashboard for AI. So the way we put it today is Agent 365 and Foundry Control Plane are grounded in these security primitives that we have for the rest of our staff, giving you consistent identity, data protection, threat protection across the different roles. So this builds that trust that you need to move forward in your organization. So that intelligence and trust is built with something like this, where you have your endpoint where users are interacting with AI, and then you have the rest of the stack where your developers, maybe end users as well, are building agents that are bespoke to their own workplace. And through a center of excellence, you can get this data and expand it to the organization based on what works and what doesn't, provided that the data is in place, the data structure is in place. And as this is happening, your organization is growing, there's more use cases, people are doing work that actually really matters, where human skills are relevant. And you do this through and with security in mind. with visibility towards what's happening, governance controls, and security. Okay, so this is what I want to leave with. It was a whistle-stop tour of a frontier transformation. So going through those 4 pillars is something that organizations that have been successful went through. But doing it with intelligence and security in mind is a requirement. So that was my 20 to 30 minutes discussing the agentic organization here at Microsoft. As I said before, I'd love to connect with you. I think my details were shared before. So yeah, feel free to shoot me a message if you want to discuss any of this. And yeah, as I said, thanks all for having invited me. It's been a pleasure to be here.